LiberalViewer presents.
So, welcome to the October 2nd edition of LiberalViewer Monday Media Mixup. Thanks for joining me. I've picked out the top 11 clips from the Sunday morning news analysis shows from the big five corporate outlets of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News, the so-called corporate media here in the United States, except, of course, Meet the Press, which has the false motto, if it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press, was preempted for golf yesterday, so no Meet the Press. But otherwise, I will be choosing my clips to give you a really educational and informative, fair use media criticism and political commentary show for you all today. As you can see from the video title, my topic is Matt Gaetz tries to take over House of Representatives for Donald Trump. And I'm including two clips of Matt Gaetz himself threatening to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy and a rare appearance on two Sunday shows, neither of which were Fox News. And also breaking news, just in the last 20 minutes, Representative Matt Gaetz filed that motion to vacate to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy. So he followed through on that threat. I'll also have a clip of Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's reaction yesterday to Gaetz's threat when he was on CBS News' Face the Nation. And then I'll have another MAGA Republican, Representative Byron Donalds of Florida, and then round out the clips with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking about whether Democrats will join in voting to oust Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy. But first, before I get to that main topic and all the clips on that topic, my political comedy comes from something. The big joke is that it was not covered at all on the Sunday shows, even though Republicans claimed last Thursday this was going to be a huge breaking news, like smoking gun. It was the first day. What I'm talking about is Thursday was the first day of the impeachment inquiry from House Republicans. And it was so bad that even on Fox News, right when the hearings ended, it was during Your World with Neil Cavuto, and this is how the anchor Neil Cavuto reacted to those hearings live, spontaneously, and I'll talk about that a little more after we watch that kind of political comedy, amusing for Fox News, I guess, that clip together over here.
All right, for the better part of 6 hours, I had been following these hearings, save an hour off to do my Fox Business show earlier today. I don't know what was achieved over these last 6+ hours. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. I want to put in perspective here, though, and we are going to legally go through all the details, but James Comer, the Oversight Committee chairman, had said that there would be presented a mountain of evidence against Mr. Biden. It was referring to President Biden. But none of the expert witnesses today presented yet any proof for impeachment. Now, to be clear, this was not about impeachment. This is about launching an impeachment inquiry. But it is worth pointing out that none of the witnesses today were fact witnesses. That means that none were involved in the investigation into the alleged activities in the first place. What's more, none of the witnesses testified today of direct knowledge of what Republicans have been claiming about Joe Biden. In other words, that the way this was built up, where there's smoke, there would be fire. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm going to be talking to some darn smart ones in a moment. But where there's smoke today, we just got a lot more smoke. We also say that the best they could say now, after the 6+ hours of testimony back and forth, is that they're going to try to get more bank records from Joe Biden and his son. Says that they're needed to determine if a crime was committed. Understood. But none of that was presented today, just that they would need those records to further this investigation today, even though this occurs after months of Republican probes that failed to provide anything resembling concrete evidence. We do not already know, for example, a charge that was made today that Joe Biden took a bribe. That might, in fact, be the case. It might come up in this inquiry when we get more evidence, but that is still an unproven allegation. Furthermore, much talk about this Bruce Dubinsky, this forensic accountant, and a key witness for Republicans. Not enough evidence yet. Those are his words. Not enough evidence yet to conclude corruption by the Bidens. Jonathan Turley himself said today that the House does not have such evidence to support articles of impeachment, but this is an opening for an inquiry. So fair enough. But the issues at hand here was getting back to second-hand, third-hand information that might or might not warrant further investigation. Well, that investigation is on. This inquiry is on. But the promise of explosive testimony and uncontrovertible proof, that did not materialize today. Now, to be fair, I was off an hour today doing my Fox Business show, and I might have missed it. But I went back and looked at what was said and done during the noon hour to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And it turns out that no such evidence was presented. Now, to be fair, and it's clarified by Jonathan Turley, that information might be forthcoming, that the House doesn't yet have the evidence, but it might in getting maybe these other facts together, bank records together. But we don't have that yet. And maybe that's what this inquiry will lead to, getting that information and decisively concluding once and for all that we have enough information to go after the President of the United States. There is no doubt about the curious nature of Hunter Biden's financial connections to a host of foreign players. There is still at best circumstantial evidence to connect his father to it. That is not to make a legal apology for his father, but many times I saw references to Biden in these remarks, as if they were Joe Biden. Repeatedly, they were references to Hunter Biden. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not even smart in interpreting legal shows I see on TV. But when you begin to trumpet what you have as the beginning of an explosive inquiry into the President of the United States to potentially remove him from office, you would think you would bring your A game. Now, maybe this is all part of a pattern and a legal process of which I'm totally unfamiliar. Guilty as charged. But this took over 6 hours today, my friends. Over 6 hours. I wonder. All right, David Spunt maybe can step back and put this in the proper.
Yeah, I actually watched those 6 hours of impeachment hearings, or at least what they covered on Fox News. It wasn't covered on CNN and MSNBC Live. Fox News covered it sort of live, but they were often cutting away when, like, the Democrats were making their points. It was, like, incredibly biased. And despite all that, when it was over, there were so few new facts, no bombshells, no smoking guns, just smoke and more smoke, like Neil Cavuto said, that it pretty much seemed to everyone like it was a total dud. And later in the day on Fox News, they tried to like play up certain moments, like to try to make the Republicans look good, but it was pretty much a joke. That's why I used it as my political comedy clip. Although I guess the writer's strike is over. The Saturday Night Live is coming back in a week or two. Bill Maher was back on Friday, but it was not worth clipping, and I've gotten like 20 copyright claims from HBO in the last month, so that's a whole different story. But anyway, the big other piece of evidence that the Republican impeachment inquiry into Biden was just a big joke and a big nothing burger, I guess they say, and a dud, is that the word impeachment in the 4 Sunday shows since Meet the Press was off, the word impeachment only came up like twice in all the 4 shows. Even on Fox News, they only mentioned impeachment like fleetingly, not the impeachment hearings from Thursday. They didn't mention those. They didn't show any clips from those. They even had Byron Donalds on. I'm going to show a clip of Byron Donalds. Shannon Bream asked him nothing. I mean, if she was a real reporter, she would have asked him about what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez found, where he like faked a text message and totally changed the meaning of it. And I'll talk about that when I get to the Byron Donalds clip. But briefly in the panel discussion on ABC, they mentioned how maybe Democrats would make a deal with Kevin McCarthy to keep him speaker. And one of the things they might ask for is to end the impeachment inquiry. That was one of the 2 mentions on the 4 Sunday shows. And then the other mention was briefly in a discussion of the border crisis on Fox News Sunday, like 50 minutes into the program. Here's 17 seconds, Shannon Bream asking a question that I'll follow up on after we watch it together over
What
here.
headache is this for the White House when they've got so many other things, new revelations about Hunter, impeachment moving forward potentially, the economy not looking good. Poll after poll says people are very unhappy with how that is playing out for them too. I mean, this is just another visual, and we've been looking at live pictures of the reality of what's not working.
So yeah, you saw like impeachment is another part of the possible impeachment is a headache for the Biden administration, just like the border crisis. But literally, that was the only use of the word impeachment in the entire Fox News Sunday program. So if Fox News Sunday couldn't find a way to play up anything that happened on Thursday in those Republican hearings, that's how you know that they were a total dud. That's the point I wanted to make for my political comedy before I get to the main topic. Breaking news, Representative Matt Gaetz has filed a motion to vacate to oust House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. It's something he threatened to do yesterday on the Sunday shows, and the averted government shutdown where Kevin McCarthy made a deal with more Democrats than Republicans to keep the government open for 47 more days as of yesterday. They all say 45. It was because it's to November 17th. Yesterday was October 1st. So I'm not like a huge math genius. Well, maybe I am, but October 1st to October 31st is 30 days. To November 17th, 47 days. It was highly reported as 45 days for, I don't know, because it's a round number. I don't know why, but I'll talk about that a little more after we watch. I have the 4 news summaries from longest to shortest. Fox News Sunday is definitely more biased towards the Republicans. A lot of like the dysfunction that happened with the government shutdown, instead of talking about the Republican House, I'm sure if it was the democratically controlled House, they would have mentioned it was like the Democrat House. But here, a lot of the dysfunction they blame on Congress without saying who controls it, although they do eventually get to some of the issues. Shannon Bream and Aishah Hasnie, Aishah Hasnie over in this clip.
Hello from Fox News in Washington. Congress narrowly avoiding a government shutdown. President Biden signing a 45-day short-term spending bill into law just before the midnight deadline. The Senate and House working late into Saturday to get that deal done. The last-minute agreement comes as House Republicans tried and failed to pass a separate temporary funding bill that would have contained policy items like border security and spending cuts. In a moment, we will bring in 2 Republican congressmen with some opposing views on all these spending deals, Byron Donalds and French Hill. But first, Aishah Hasnie joins us from Capitol Hill. Aishah.
Shannon, good morning to you. Congress once again kicking the can down the road on government funding now to 45 days. It will keep the government funded at fiscal year 2023 spending levels. It did add $16 billion in disaster relief. Not in this solution is Ukraine aid and border security, 2 very important topics for these sparring parties. In fact, Democratic Senator Michael Bennet held up the Senate vote for a few hours last night over the lack of Ukraine funding, but eventually relented after leaders Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell announced that they will fight for more aid in a separate measure.
After trying to take our government hostage, MAGA Republicans won nothing.
There was a lot more drama over in the House, Shannon. Democrats originally trying to stall the bill, angry at Speaker Kevin McCarthy that he dropped the text last minute. And take a look at this. Capitol Police now investigating New York Congressman Jamal Bowman after he pulled a fire alarm during the proceedings. He claims that it was all an accident. Eventually, though, Democrats helped McCarthy pass this bill. 90 Republicans voted no. Hardliners who wanted the speaker to focus solely on passing a new, slimmer budget.
They tell us to pass a continued resolution so we won't have to pass another continued resolution. Well, that line of thinking is like telling a crackhead that I'm going to give you more crack to get you off a crack.
Shannon, we start the new week here with questions about Speaker McCarthy's job. Congressman Matt Gaetz reportedly says that he will, in fact, file a motion to vacate the speaker. Shannon, the speaker over the last couple of days has responded to those threats by saying, bring it on. Shannon?
We'll watch to see if it happens. Aishah Hasnie reporting from the Hill. Thank you very much for the update. Joining us now, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds out of Florida. Good to see you, sir.
And I will have a clip of Byron Donalds giving his reaction sort of to very light questioning from Shannon Bream. She does not question him like a real journalist would. Like I said, I'll talk about that when I get to the Byron Donalds clip. Clip 10, by the way, if you down in the video description, you can not only see the sources of all my clips underneath the sources section, but I also give short summaries of all the clips, so you can see what's coming up or use it to like click between clips. I don't know, can you do that if I don't put in the time indexes? I used to put in time indexes, but anyway, I'm going to finish up criticizing that Fox News Sunday news summary. I pretty much pre-criticized it in terms of like putting the blame more on Congress than Republicans. The one other thing is there's this story that Fox News and the right wing is like really perseverating on this Jamal Bowman pulled the fire alarm story. He claims he did it accidentally. I'm not sure what the whole facts are there, but they're like trying to multiple times I've seen on Fox News, they're trying to make it seem like it's the same thing as what happened on January 6th. It's obstruction of an official proceeding under 18 USC section 1512. I'm sorry, 18 USC section 1512 sub C sub 2 that I talk about all the time. 18 USC section 1512 says it's tampering with a witness, but if you go down to subsection C sub 2, it's about obstructing an official proceeding, and a lot of people on January 6th were charged, and even Donald Trump himself is charged with obstructing an official proceeding under 18 USC section 1512 sub C sub 2, and so they're saying, well, Jamal Bowman was obstructing an official proceeding by pulling this fire alarm over in this office building next to the House of Representatives, where the alarm didn't even go off in the House of Representatives, and he said it was a mistake. And also, I talked about months ago that congressional regular sessions of Congress are likely not official proceedings, because under the definition of an official proceeding, there has to be some fact-finding function. An official proceeding that you're obstructing under that statute usually involves like a court hearing or some administrative hearing, some administrative agency hearing. And the reason that January 6th qualifies is there is fact-finding. They're counting the number of votes. That's the fact that they're finding, how many votes were cast for each candidate by the Electoral College. And so it actually qualifies, even though a lot of congressional sessions might not qualify. So nobody talked about that, and the right wing's going crazy on going after this fire alarm issue, and I just wanted to add that in before I get to the ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos news summary. Jon Karl and Rachel Scott, I think, do a much better job than Shannon Bream and Aishah Hasnie did, covering pretty much the same facts, but giving it without the partisan Republican spin you saw in the last clip. Here's 2.5 minutes of ABC doing the news summary yesterday that I'll talk about a little more after we watch it together over here.
Good morning and welcome to This Week. We have just witnessed an extraordinary 24 hours in the House of Representatives. As the U.S. government seemed on the brink of a lengthy government shutdown, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy made a decision to move forward with a bill that many of his fellow Republicans opposed. The bill, which required a 2/3 supermajority, passed. But take a look at the final tally. Only 126 Republicans voted yes, 90 voted no. It only passed because it had the overwhelming support of House Democrats. President Biden has now signed the bill into law, but remember, this is just a temporary measure, keeping the government open for 45 days with no progress whatsoever for a long-term deal. McCarthy avoided a drawn-out shutdown for now by ditching almost everything that he had promised conservatives and getting a lifeline from Democrats. Now there's a real question of whether that move will cause hardline Republicans to try to remove him as Speaker of the House. ABC's senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott has been on Capitol Hill all week, tracking it all. Good morning, Rachel.
John, good morning. President Biden signed that bill with just 45 minutes to spare. It was a week of uncertainty and chaos that ended with Democrats and Republicans finally coming together on a short-term deal to keep the government funded. This was far from what Speaker Kevin McCarthy wanted. He said he exhausted every single option, trying to get the far right wing of his party on the same page, even trying to tie border funding to this fight. In the end, it was never enough. With time running out, he turned to Democrats. He put this measure on the floor that would keep the government funded until November 17th and add $16 billion in disaster aid. In the House, more Democrats voted for that bill than Republicans. It passed the Senate with sweeping bipartisan support. Neither side got everything they wanted here. No border security for Republicans, no Ukraine aid for Democrats, and most notably, no long-term solution, which means we could be right back here having this fight all over again in about 45 days, John.
So Rachel, bottom line, does this put McCarthy's job as Speaker in peril?
John, it sure seems that way. Those hardline conservatives were very clear from the beginning of this that if McCarthy tried to work with Democrats on a deal, they would try to oust him as Speaker. McCarthy responding to those threats, saying, bring it on.
All right, Rachel Scott on Capitol Hill, thank you. Joining us now is Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida.
And I have two clips of Matt Gaetz coming up. And he's apparently the man of the hour, since he just did file that motion to vacate, and Speaker McCarthy, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, is the first speaker in over 100 years. I think the last time was 1910 that a motion to vacate was filed, and it hasn't ever been successful. So maybe Kevin McCarthy will be the first vacated speaker. I guess we'll find out. There's like a couple days that it might take before they get the vote, from what I understand. But that motion was filed. Rachel Scott, I guess she didn't say it was a 45 days. She said about 45 days. I don't know why they couldn't have said 47 days. But other than that, I thought the ABC News summary was like a much more journalistic summary of what happened, juxtaposed to the Fox News Sunday news summary before it. But you can let me know what you think in the comment section. Oh, by the way, I saw I got a super chat contribution from Matthew while I was looking at the live comments. I'm glad you love the show, Matthew. I appreciate your viewership and your contributions. I don't get a lot of ad revenue these days, so if you want to support the program, right under the video there's a link to direct PayPal contribution, or especially to become one of my monthly Patreon supporters. That's like the best way to support the program. If you do at least $5 using one of those methods, I will send you this ACLU Constitution, and I might talk about the Constitution. I could have talked about the Constitution in terms of Jamal Bowman, because there's actually, I think it's Article 1, Section 6. Should I look at it? Article 1, Section 6 says, what is that, the right one? Oh, yeah, that they shall in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house they shall not be questioned in any other place. He was like going to and coming from the voting, and Article 1, Section 6 of the Constitution says that members of the House of Representatives can't be charged, unless you think that was a breach of the peace, pulling the fire alarm. I don't know. But I just want to say there's a constitutional question, and if you give me a $5 contribution on PayPal or become a $5 a month contributor on Patreon, I'll give you this ACLU Constitution, as well as this weatherproof vinyl #LiberalViewer sticker. I don't know. I don't say that every week, but I thought I would follow up Matthew's Super Chat contribution with that announcement, in case anyone's interested in any of those little gifts for people who support the show financially. But I do have two more news summaries. CNN State of the Union, I think, also did a good journalistic job of covering the government shutdown being averted and the split in the Republican Party and the possible ouster of Kevin McCarthy in like half the time as ABC did. Jake Tapper doing the CNN News Summary yesterday over here.
Hello, I'm Jake Tapper in Washington, where the State of our Union is open for at least 45 more days. Today, our servicemen and women do not have to worry about missing any paychecks. TSA agents, too. National parks remain open after House Speaker Kevin McCarthy caught almost everyone off guard Saturday with a plan to work with House Democrats to keep the U.S. government open without demanding any of the spending cuts hardline House Republicans had been demanding just one day earlier, as Republicans are trying to collect themselves after stepping on rake after rake this week. And Democrats are taking a victory lap after what was, by any objective measure, an embarrassing week for the House GOP. The end result buys McCarthy a little more time to settle a raging disagreement within his conference over spending and, more to the point, over his leadership. But his gambit could also put his job on the line as a handful of hardliners consider whether to follow through on their threat to oust McCarthy from the speakership for working with Democrats to pass a clean spending bill. And joining me now is the man leading that charge against Speaker McCarthy, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. Thank you.
And I will have two clips of Matt Gaetz coming up from yesterday, but I like that news summary. I like that stepping on rake after rake. It reminded me of like Sideshow Bob on The Simpsons, like, or maybe Homer saying "dope." I don't know. Is it the Republicans are Homer Simpson in this situation? Or actually, I'm going to talk about another animated series, Beavis and Butthead, in just a minute. But first, I want to finish up the news summaries. CBS News Face the Nation only had an 18-second news summary before they got to Kevin McCarthy. But here's Margaret Brennan summing it all up in less than 20 seconds over
Good
here.
morning and welcome to Face the Nation. Congress has done it once again. They've kicked the proverbial can down the road, passing a 45-day funding bill to keep the government running. Now, the deadline for getting spending bills passed is November 17th. Joining us this morning, the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
So that was kind of weird in that 18 seconds there. Margaret Brennan was the only person, I think, who said November 17th was how long the can had been kicked down the road, proverbially, or whatever. But like I said, if you do the math from October 1st, which was yesterday when that program aired, to November 17th, it's 47 days. So she also got a fact wrong within the 18 seconds. Because it's 47 days, not 45, and then gave the date of November 17th. So kudos for the November 17th, but cheers for the November 17th, but jeers for the 45 days. That was like an old TV guide thing, cheers and jeers. I don't know. There used to be this thing called magazines. I'm sorry, I'm showing my age here. But anyway, that was the end of the news summaries. You can tell me which one which of the four news analysis programs from yesterday did the news summaries the best. Now I'm going to show you two clips of Matt Gaetz in which he threatens to file the motion to vacate that he just filed in the last hour. But one thing I noticed, and I mentioned I was going to talk about another animated series here. A lot of times when I've seen pictures of Matt Gaetz, here's like his headshot from his house website. He's got this like poofy hair thing. And he also has these weird eyebrows that you can't really see in this headshot as well. But it makes me think, I don't know if it's Beavis or Butthead, but he definitely looks like either Beavis or Butthead from the MTV series Beavis and Butthead. You can let me know. I wasn't like a big fan of Beavis and Butthead, but it was kind of iconic when I was growing up, and I know what Beavis and Butthead look like. And was it Beavis or I couldn't tell you which one was Beavis or Butthead. So if anyone can tell me, does he look like Beavis or Butthead? I mean, I'm hoping it's Butthead, but you can tell me in the comments. And I point that out because when he went on the two Sunday shows yesterday on ABC and CNN, he didn't have the hair poof. He was like trying to de-butthead himself, I think, maybe. But you can tell me what you think. Well, here's the first clip of him where he makes the threat, answers the question, are you going to file a motion to vacate to oust House Speaker Kevin McCarthy over on ABC? And I'll talk about that a little more after we watch that clip together over here.
I want to start right with what you've been saying all along, that you would move to oust him as Speaker, and what McCarthy said just yesterday. Take a listen.
That's all right if Republicans and Democrats join together to do what is right. If somebody wants to make a motion against me, bring it. There has to be an adult in the room.
So, are you going to do it? Are you going to move to oust him?
Kevin McCarthy's going to get his wish. I don't think the adult in the room would allow America to sit atop a $33 trillion debt facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. I don't think the adult in the room would allow $8 trillion of this debt to come into refinancing at a higher level without serious spending cuts. And I don't think the adult in the room would lie to House conservatives. And that is exactly what Kevin McCarthy did. In January, to get the speakership, Kevin had to agree to certain guardrails on spending, and he had to agree to a process that would allow us to put some downward pressure on spending. Since the mid-90s, this country has been governed by revolving continuing resolution and omnibus spending bill. And what that means is that America's lawmakers take one up or down vote on the funding of the entire government. That is crazy. That is the reason we're $33 trillion in debt. We want to move to single subject spending bills. So he made that commitment. He broke it. And if at this time next week, Kevin McCarthy is still Speaker of the House, it will be because the Democrats bailed him out, and he can be their Speaker, not mine.
So when do you make this move?
You'll be seeing it this week.
This week, okay.
That's why I came on the show this week.
Now, look, it takes only one person, obviously, you, to call for a vote to remove him, so-called motion to vacate. But you would need a majority to remove him, which means you're going to need Democrats to remove him. Do you really think that Democrats are going to vote to remove Kevin McCarthy because he made a deal with Democrats?
No. I actually think Democrats are going to bail out Kevin McCarthy. So this is an exercise to show the American people who really governs you and how that governing occurs. So I'm on a mission to change it, where we're evaluating these bills independently. Kevin McCarthy is off making a secret deal on Ukraine as he's baiting Republicans to vote for a continuing resolution that doesn't include Ukraine. So the one thing Democrats, Republicans, the White House, that we all have in common is that Kevin McCarthy at one point or another has lied to all of us. But if they want to keep him, then he belongs to them.
But so you're not accomplishing anything here. I mean,
that's not true.
Well, you don't have the votes to remove him.
Well, by the way, I don't know until we have him. And by the way, I might not have him the first time, but I might have him before the 15th ballot. That's the number of ballots Kevin McCarthy needs.
So are you going to do this every day like you had suggested? Or are you going to like go through this process of voting over and over and over again?
I am relentless, and I will continue to pursue this objective. And if all the American people see is that it is a uniparty that governs them, and that it is always the Biden, McCarthy, Jeffries government that makes dispositive decisions on spending, then I am seeding the fields of future primary contests to get better Republicans in Washington who will actually tackle these deficits and debts.
So yeah, there was Representative Matt Gaetz making the threat. My favorite part of that was the Biden, McCarthy, Jeffries government, where he's, in the organizing work I do, where you have to like give feedback to people. One of the things they say to do is like, put it in a compliment if you have like negative feedback, put it in a compliment sandwich, where like you say two nice things and then put the negative thing in the middle. This is like just the opposite. The Biden, McCarthy, Jeffries government, that's Joe Biden, the president, and Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, are the bread that Representative Matt Gaetz is putting Kevin McCarthy in the middle of that sandwich that for like I don't know, for MAGA Republicans, that's like not a compliment sandwich. That's like I don't know, a shit sandwich. I don't know. You can let me know what you think in the comment section. But there's Matt Gaetz making his threat that he followed through on today. And he did the same thing over on CNN's State of the Union. I'm not going to show you that clip over again, but I'm going to show you Jake Tapper in this next clip talking to Matt Gaetz about maybe his personal bias against Kevin McCarthy. And one of my criticisms of both Jake Tapper and Jon Karl in their interviews of Matt Gaetz is they didn't really bring up this like really gross behavior he's been accused of. Supposedly he was investigated for a long time by U.S. attorney, by the federal prosecutors for trafficking in underage girls, like moving them across state lines, doing cocaine with underage girls and having sex with them and paying for various things that might be considered trafficking. And one of his close associates is actually in prison but didn't flip on him, or anyway, none of those like underlying facts are mentioned even by Jake Tapper when he sort of brings up the personal animus that Matt Gaetz might have against Kevin McCarthy because he didn't squash the House ethics investigation that's still going on, but nothing about the like trafficking of underage girls and gross behavior with like doing coke with underage girls. And I mean, you would think someone would have asked him more explicitly about those charges, but the closest we got was Jake Tapper over in this clip.
Question for you, because the reason you talk about this being about the issue and not animus is because there are a lot of people, a lot of House Republicans who think that there is this personal animus between you and Speaker McCarthy. And I just have to ask you, how much do you blame Speaker McCarthy for the fact that you are under investigation by the House Ethics Committee? How much is that part of what's going on here?
Not at all. Jake, I am the most investigated man in the United States Congress. I've been cleared by the DOJ, the FEC by a 5-0 vote, and the people who spread criminal lies about me are sitting in federal prison right now. So I'm fine being investigated by anyone and everyone.
I have seen personal communications between you and other people in which you blame McCarthy for your ethics investigation.
When Kevin McCarthy went out publicly and said, this isn't about me breaking my word, it's because Gaetz has ethics problems, certainly that was him gaslighting the ethics committee. But here's the thing, Jake, I'm not alone. People can say this is a party of one. I have tens of millions of Americans who stand with me on this, and I have a requisite number of House Republicans, a sufficient number to ensure that we don't own Kevin McCarthy anymore. By week's end, he will either not be Speaker or he will be Speaker serving at the pleasure of House Democrats.
To be continued. We'll see what happens. Congressman Matt Gaetz, thanks so much for being here.
So yeah, that was the closest any or either of the anchors, Jake Tapper or Jon Karl, got to asking Matt Gaetz about the investigation into him trafficking underage girls to have sex with and do drugs with, and a whole bunch of other gross things that he's been accused of, but not actually criminally charged with, but now in the ethics committee. And I mean, Jon Karl definitely should have asked him about it, and Jake Tapper should have mentioned what the substance of the charges were, don't you think? If you've got the guy on the program and he's not going to come on, the liberal media very often, he won't even go on Fox News anymore because he's in some sort of feud with Fox News. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out in terms of my media criticism of the last two clips. And then the next clip I'm going to show you is Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy yesterday appeared on one of those liberal news programs, Face the Nation, and he responded to the threat to oust him from Representative Matt Gaetz that Representative Gaetz has now followed through on. And here's how Kevin McCarthy responded to that on Face the Nation yesterday.
There is a lot to get to with you. I want to start, though, on the news this morning from Congressman Matt Gaetz, who says he's going to seek a motion to vacate. He's going to try to oust you as Speaker of the House.
That's nothing new. He's tried to do that from the moment I ran for office. Look.
Well, this time he says he's going to keep going. May not get there before the 15th ballot, but it took 15 for Kevin McCarthy. He says he's coming for you. Can you survive?
Yes, I'll survive. You know, this is personal with Matt. Matt voted against the most conservative ability to protect our border, secure our border. He's more interested in securing TV interviews than doing something. He wanted to push us into a shutdown, even threatening his own district with all the military people there who would not be paid, only because he wants to take this motion. So be it, bring it on, let's get over with it, and let's start governing. If he's upset because he tried to push us in a shutdown, and I made sure government didn't shut down, then let's have that fight.
You need 218 votes to vacate. Has Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, said that he will?
No. He hasn't said
what?
He hasn't said anything about what he's going to do. Look,
Democrats could cross over and follow Gaetz's lead on this.
Yeah,
look,
Gaetz is trying to work with Democrats. He's reached out to Swalwell, to AOC, and others. But if that's the way we're going to govern, I don't think America is going to be successful. Look, at the end of the day, think of everything we've been able to accomplish so far. Parents' Bill of Rights. We passed the most conservative bill to protect our border, make America energy independent. We've been able to cut $2 trillion in the debt ceiling, get work requirements back in. The hard part we have right now is the Senate has not passed one appropriation bill. Each body's supposed to pass 12. We've passed more than 70% of the discritionary spending already.
But
I thought it was
no
appropriate.
chance of surviving in the Senate and making it into law.
Well, you said that same
here.
thing when we stopped D.C. from decriminalizing everything. You said the same thing when we said we're going to stop the pandemic.
I don't think I ever talked about those things.
Well, no, you and the many of the press would think, why pass it? Because the Senate won't take it up and won't sign it. Most of it in the press probably thought we would have shut down yesterday, too. But no, we did not.
Were you confident we wouldn't shut down?
I was confident I could get something on the floor to make sure the option that we would not.
But
that
you weren't
our
sure
military,
it was going to pass.
Well, I wasn't sure it was going to pass. You want to know why? Because the Democrats tried to do everything they can not to let it pass. They did
Democrats were the ones who voted for this in a larger number than Republicans to keep the continuing resolution alive.
Did you watch the floor yesterday?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
90 Republicans voted against it.
Okay, so let's walk through what actually happened. First of all, the Democrats stood up and did dilatory actions, asked to adjourn. So was that supporting to adjourn? Then they used the magic minute. They went as far as pulling the fire alarm, not to try to get the bill to come up. Look, Democrats stick together, but they did not want the bill. They did not. They were willing to let government shut down for our military not to be paid. No, I wasn't. We're going to make sure we keep it open while we finish the job we're supposed to do.
You got 45 days.
That's right.
So,
well, technically 47, but.
Okay. Senator.
So kudos to Kevin McCarthy at the very end there. He Republicans usually don't use facts to try to win arguments, but he pointed out there are actually 47 days between October 1st and November 17th. How unusual that a Republican would be using a fact and a journalist would have the facts wrong. That is like, it's a total man bites dog situation. That's why I had to keep the clip playing all the way through. Kevin McCarthy, the totally pusillanimous Speaker of the House, the weakest Speaker of the House in the last 100 years. I said in the title of a video back on January 9th, my Monday Media Mix-Up, and then last week I was talking about weakest Speaker might cause government shutdown, that he didn't actually cause the government shutdown, but now he's losing his job because he's the weakest speaker in over 100 years because there hasn't been a motion to vacate since 1910. That's 113 years. So there you go. But he at least he was able to use one fact to reply to a journalist there about the number of days, but he was also claiming that he's not working with Democrats. He hasn't worked or made any deals with Hakeem Jeffries or any other Democrats to vote to keep him in power. And I watched CNN was the only one of the three networks to cover what Representative Matt Gaetz said live about an hour ago when he talked to reporters about filing the motion to vacate. And he accused Kevin McCarthy of working with Democrats and said he hadn't talked to Democrats at all, that they should just vote to oust Speaker McCarthy for free. In the clip after next, I'm going to show you Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez say that she probably won't vote to keep Kevin McCarthy Speaker, but might. And you heard Kevin McCarthy in that last clip say that Representative Matt Gaetz has been talking to AOC and the squad or whatever. I don't know who's telling the truth, but there's a definite conflict there. But before I get to that final clip of AOC saying how she's going to react to this motion to vacate, I want to show you Representative Byron Donalds, another Florida MAGA Republican who may or may not be siding with Matt Gaetz. And you'll see here he won't commit one way or the other. Shannon Bream, who never asks him about the impeachment hearing, even though he got called on falsifying a text message, or I don't know, a text message between Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's brother Jim that made it look like Joe Biden was going to go into business with Hunter Biden, when if you look at the whole context, it was really Joe Biden might help Hunter Biden pay his alimony. And that never came up in the interview with Shannon Bream on Fox News Sunday, because she's not a real journalist, because Fox News is not a journalistic outlet. It's actually a propaganda outlet for the Republican Party, which is what it was created to be by Roger Ailes, as recounted. Oh, this book right over here, The Loudest Voice in the Room by Gabriel Sherman. If you want to read that book, you can see how Fox News was not created for journalism, but propaganda for the Republican Party. And that's something I proved over many years with my hundreds of videos on my Fox News Bias playlist that you can find at youtube.com/LiberalViewer. It's one of the playlists on my channel, but I digress, and now I'm going to show you some of that Fox News bias. Shannon Bream saying, is Speaker McCarthy in trouble? Asking Byron Donalds, and then following up asking if he'd vote for the motion to vacate, but not really getting an answer because she doesn't really care, because it doesn't really serve the purpose of Fox News, which is not journalism, as I was just pointing out. And I'll talk about that a little more after we watch that clip together over here.
Do you think the Speaker's in trouble?
I think he is in trouble. Part of that is because there has to be some level of strong leadership in our chamber. I'm just going to be totally blunt. There are a lot of trust issues in my chamber right now, where people feel on both sides of our conference that everybody's not going to hold hands and continue to do this work together. That was indicative also of what happened yesterday on the floor, where it took more Democrats to pass this deal to keep the government open. The same thing happened on the debt deal. But at the end of the day, we got to find a way to come together, stay focused as a conference. That's what I want to do. But border security has to be the number one thing that we fight for going forward. We must secure our border. Joe Biden simply won't do it. He wants this catastrophe, which is affecting all of our cities, and the only people standing in his way are House Republicans.
We're going to talk about the record high numbers about that later on in the show, but let me ask you, if there's a motion to vacate, would you vote against the Speaker, and do you think Democrats would help you do that?
Frankly, I don't know right now. I got to really think about that, because there's a lot of stuff going on in that building that's behind us. What Democrats do, I can't even speak to it right now. They don't even want to take care of the key thing in this country, securing our border, and frankly, getting our government to just do its job and no more.
All right, Congressman Donalds, good to see you. Thanks for popping in.
Oh, yeah, that second question, would you vote against the Speaker when you join Democrats in doing that? So Shannon Bream is kind of taking Kevin McCarthy's side. That's the subtext there. I'm not sure why. And I talked about how Matt Gaetz said he doesn't appear on Fox News a lot anymore. That he said that in one of the two interviews he did. I don't know if there's some sort of feud between Matt Gaetz and Fox News, or Fox News wants to keep Kevin McCarthy the Speaker for some reason, or I don't know what that's all about. But I just wanted to point out that Shannon Bream was carrying the pro-Kevin McCarthy talking points in that final question to Byron Donalds, who is a Florida MAGA Republican, just like Matt Gaetz, just like, I guess, Donald Trump, who there's been reporting that Matt Gaetz has been conferring with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said, shut down the government, don't make the deal with the Democrats, and that's why I have the title of my video that Matt Gaetz is actually trying to take over the House of Representatives for Donald Trump, and whether the Democrats are going to be on Kevin McCarthy's side or Matt Gaetz's side. I'm going to show you one Democrat here. This is the final clip I promised you, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking to Jake Tapper about this topic on CNN's State of the Union yesterday. For the final clip, I'll talk about with you a little more after we watch it together over here.
First of all, you just heard Congressman Matt Gaetz say he's going to move to oust McCarthy as Speaker this week. If a motion to vacate the chair comes to the floor, how would you vote?
Well, my vote beginning this term for Speaker of the House was for Hakeem Jeffries, and I do not intend on voting for a Republican Speaker of the House, but I believe that it's up to the Republican conference to determine their own leadership and deal with their own problems. But it's not up to Democrats to save Republicans from themselves, especially.
So do you think that there will be any Democrats that might vote to save McCarthy?
I mean, I certainly don't think that we would expect to see that unless there's a real conversation between the Republican and Democratic caucuses and Republican and Democratic leadership about what that would mean. But I don't think we give up votes for free.
And but would you vote to vacate? Would you vote to get rid of McCarthy as Speaker?
Would I cast that vote? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Kevin McCarthy is a very weak speaker. He clearly has lost control of his caucus. He has brought the United States and millions of Americans to the brink, waiting until the final hour to keep the government open, and even then only issuing a 45-day extension. So we're going to be right back in this place in November. And, I think that our main priority has to be the American people and what's going to keep our governance in a cohesive and strong place. But unless Kevin McCarthy asks for a vote, again, I don't think we give something away for free.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard your fellow squad member, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, say Democrats should only support McCarthy in exchange for a 50-50 power sharing agreement.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to power sharing, we will discuss that as a caucus and what we would finally accept or not. But again, it comes at a price. You don't just vote for a Republican speaker for nothing. That's not what we're elected here to do. We're elected here to make sure that we raise the minimum wage to a living wage, to make sure that we cap the prices of prescription drugs, and to make sure that we work for working class Americans.
So there you go. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in that answer, I think, kind of solved the conflict between Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy and Representative Matt Gaetz as to who it is who has to make a deal with Democrats to get the votes they want, at least according to the more progressive Democrats like AOC there. She's willing to, this is Matt Gaetz said in his press conference about an hour or so ago when he was talking about his motion to vacate, that he expected Democrats to give him votes for free, because that's kind of what AOC said there, that's her default position. She would vote on the motion to vacate to get rid of Kevin McCarthy because he's a weak speaker. He's done a lot of really bad things in terms of what progressives believe in, and so the only way that she would vote to keep him as speaker is if he made a lot of concessions. You saw Jake Tapper talk about a 50-50 sharing arrangement, and most of the Democrats I've seen will say that they have a party line, which is it's up to Hakeem Jeffries to negotiate that, and if Hakeem Jeffries negotiates some deal with Kevin McCarthy, then Kevin McCarthy will get votes from Democrats. But in this case, I mean, not that I'm a fan of Representative Matt Gaetz, but in his inter-party feud with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he's actually right that Kevin McCarthy is the one who's going to make a deal with Democrats. Matt Gaetz is getting their votes for free. At least that's my analysis. You can let me know what you think down in the comment section. That's my final clip. Oh, thank you for the additional Super Chat contribution, Matthew, for your appreciation of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I appreciate your support. I appreciate all the live viewers who show up and keep me company while I show you all the clips I picked out and add my media criticism and political commentary for the day. I hope you all appreciate the 8 to 10 hours or so that it takes me to put the show together. That's why I talk about the financial contributions, because, I'd like to make at least like minimum wage for my 10 hours of work or whatever. And the way the whole YouTube monetization system is set up, usually I don't even make it to the minimum wage. So that's why I talk about that sometimes, but I also do it just because I've been watching these Sunday morning shows for 40 years or so, like since the mid 1980s at least, and I kind of enjoy it. And this is sort of uh, even if it's just a hobby, it's like a system where it makes me really concentrate on the important issues and think about it. And I kind of enjoy doing it, and I promise to do it through January 2025 when we know whether Joe Biden or whoever is going to be elected, or Donald Trump, or whoever on the right wing. Or anyway, I'll be coming back every Monday to do the Monday Media Mix-Up for you all through January 2025. Maybe I'll have some other reason to upload a video between now and then. Otherwise, I'll just keep seeing you for the Monday Media Mix-Ups. And thanks for joining me. And until there's some other video for me to upload or my next live stream, I guess I will be seeing all of you around the internet.